Hello everyone, welcome back on the AgriAdventures channel and on Radio Italia Uno dell'Aide. This is Simone as usual, and today we are here with Wendy. Wendy, sorry, what's your surname? I didn't ask.
Rushbrook.
Rushbrook. Okay, that's an interesting surname. Where it comes from?
It's my husband's surname and his family from England.
Ah, okay. And what's your surname?
My maiden name is Buck and it's also from England.
Oh, you're all from England.
Yeah.
Okay. What about? Do you know specifically?
I think my family from my grandparents are from London and before that from Norfolk.
Okay. I've been living in London for 1 year and a half, and I was working over there. I really love that city. It's a bit different than here. So, for those following us, thank you very much for being here. This is our 50 minutes interview, and today we will speak with Wendy about her business project in permaculture training and also accommodation. We are at the moment in Yorke Peninsula. What's the name of this town? Stansbury. Sorry, I'm just traveling by car, so with names, I'm Italian, I'm a bit confused sometimes, so I don't want to say too many wrong names. Okay, Wendy, would you like to tell us a little bit before about you? What you like, why you're here, and what are you doing? Because I don't think it's at the moment a permaculture business on training, it's the main income that you have, is that right?
No, yes, okay. That's right. I was born in Adelaide and our family had a holiday home on Yorke Peninsula. So at some point in my life I thought it would be a nice place to live over here as I was an adult. Bought a house and met my husband over here. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Stansbury 14 years ago, I think.
Oh, okay.
And built this house. So this house was built by a local company 11 years ago, and it was built specifically to live a permaculture life, not necessarily have a business. That was never the intention.
Oh yeah, no,
it
definitely.
It just happened accidentally. I'm a teacher librarian, so okay. I work part-time in the library in a nearby town. It's an area school, so we have students of all ages, and I work in the classroom as well. It's usually science or music, which is a lovely combination.
Oh, definitely. Science and music, they're really interesting to work together. Question, what made you fall in love of the Yorke Peninsula? Because it's a big choice.
As a child, I used to love packing up the car with mum and dad, and my siblings are a lot older than me, so they were well into their teens and 20s, and I was a kid. And we had a lot of freedom, so whether I was with my siblings looking after me or with the boys next door or kids down the street, we could climb up the cliffs, go fishing, go crabbing, dig things. I used to sit in the sandhills and get certain reeds and weave, and I used to make out I was Aboriginal, and I'd weave baskets and talk to my dog about it and try and fish with them, and just use my imagination and that freedom. And I think that feeling stayed with me, regardless of what happened later on or how much I remember. And then I travelled a lot around Australia and came back to Adelaide when I was 30, went to university. And after, teaching in a few remote places, lovely places in the north, I thought, I think it's time to come back to, the peninsula, to be an adult and buy a house and live on the Yorke Peninsula. And that was my, without being too narrow, it was my only choice. It was my first choice, but I didn't really consider looking anywhere else. I just looking anywhere else.
Oh, that is a good, that's so connected directly over here. I understand it. And so you said about the fact that this household has been built to be living in it. So that is not, the choice was a personal choice, was not a business choice. A personal choice to work with permaculture, it was a personal choice. Why? Why have you applied this to your life? I mean, I know my mother, why she has done it, but maybe we have all some different connection with that. So why did you choose permacultural lifestyle?
I think it comes back again to being young and being with my dad and 5, 6, 7 years old, walking from one little beach town to another on the Yorke Peninsula with a hessian sack and picking up rubbish from the beach, and then we'd walk back to our little town and put it into the dump. And although that was in the 1960s, and Dad no one was very articulate about rubbish in the environment. And, he just knew it was a good thing to do, it was the right thing to do, it was a natural thing to do. So Mum and Dad were born in the 1920s, and a lot of their lives, particularly Dad was one of 10, a lot of their, what we now call sustainable living, was by they just needed to do it because they had all of those siblings and the large families. So
exactly.
Now it's more of a choice for people, but they had no choice in those days. So living frugally and smartly was natural for them and their families. And I think a lot of those things stuck with me even though I wasn't aware of it. So as I left home and travelled the country and did things, I wanted to do it naturally and manually. And I remember finding a book in the library in Katherine in the Northern Territory, and it was called The Hard Times Handbook. And I wasn't in hard times, but it was all about living naturally and simply. And then that started me reading other things, and I think Grassroots magazine and other publications. And I just thought, why have I not seen this? What have I been doing not seeing these things? And the more I read, the more I realised this is me in here. This is intrinsically what I feel. And it just became the right way to live. I don't like to waste, I like to make things. And then realising you can apply, with permaculture, principles to the house or the garden. It's a common sort of misconception that people think permaculture is just gardening, because it's mainly what people see in the media or have done until fairly recently. But permaculture can be applied in lots of situations. So it just became natural and felt very a normal thing to do.
Yeah. I'm familiar, as I told you, I'm familiar with the biodynamic concept. I don't know the differences, but I think there's a similarity in terms of concepts, which is they're coming both from old way of living, but they're applied to the society. So they apply to people's life. It's not just applying of growing in a garden, but also type of materials you're going to use when you build the house instead, and other things. And I think in some way we are being oversimplifying our lifestyle in favor of laziness, but we are missing the complexity of life. So the beauty is that the complexity of doing these things is also giving you more deep connection and knowledge and understanding. So after, when you open a jar of tomato and the memories correlated with that jar, that can be good or bad, whatever, but there are so many memories that you have a double experience when you eat that pasta with tomato sauce. It's not
That's a good way of putting it.
It's not just the tomato itself, but the soul that there is behind. That is something that I think it's something my mom passed to me, and I think that we are missing. I'm trying to send back to my son. But let's speak a little bit about the business itself. So for what I understood, people is able to book a sort of permaculture training over here.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit how it works.
Okay. The business is called Down to Earth Permaculture, and my husband and I run 3 weekend workshops during the year, usually one in the end of summer, one in winter for women only, and one at the end of the year. This year's been a little bit different. We've only been able to run the February one. So it's residential, not necessarily at our place, but we also rent the house next door, which is someone's holiday home, so that we're able to rent that. And we tell them in advance and they make sure they're not coming over, that weekend. It could be a bit squeezy. And we have a room in the house here for Airbnb. And usually with a course, there are a couple of people who we know fairly well, or a few locals, and they're happy to put their swags in the ground, or inside, or sleep in another bedroom or on the floor, or so eventually it all works out. It would be hard if people needed to stay, I suppose, in motels or caravan parks, but it's easier to have everybody right here.
Definitely. In these weekends, what they will be doing
Oh, all sorts of wonderful things. We encourage people to come on the Friday night, although we don't have anything happening. It's nice for people to get together and get to know each other. And the way this property is set up is we have a gate just behind me into next door. So the gate's always open, people are walking in and out. We often have the wood oven going, so if people, you know, can make their own pizzas, they can organise themselves without stopping us being, you know, organising for the course, which, you know, I think what you haven't done by the Friday night's not worth doing, but there are always those things that you think, oh, I need to do that on the Friday night. So the course officially starts on the Saturday morning, and we do what I think works best is doing a walk. We have half an acre and it's 2 house blocks end to end, going from one street to the next. Just walk and think, and maybe pick something that feels nice or smells nice, you know, so people can have a look, and we'll just walk to the end and turn around and come back, and people know where they are. You know, they know, you know, have a few maps in the teaching area next door. Next door have a barn that they've built, which again is fantastic benefit for us because we rent the barn, and it has a bigger teaching area than in our house. So have maps set up and people can see where they are in Australia, where they are in Yorke Peninsula. There's a map with Narunga, with the local Aboriginal language and place names, so people get a sense of, you know, where they are, where north is, where they are on the peninsula, where they are in an Aboriginal place sense, and then we can sit down and get into it. So the Saturday is a mixture of, you know, chalk and talk. We have Wi-Fi in the barn and have a screen and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, hands-on. The Saturday night is usually pizzas, and people love to do that. And I think a lot of people are worried that they're not doing it right. So we busy ourselves with things, but encourage people to cook and to put things together themselves.
Yes,
and gives them the confidence, and people have great fun. You know, some people know all about wood ovens and some people have never seen one.
Yes.
So someone always finds a job that they're comfortable with, and that's their job, you know, and by the end of the night, you know, there's usually wine flowing and a few guitars, and we have different instruments here, and people will toddle off to bed.
I'm feeling more it's not just a training, teaching, but it's also a social experience.
Yes. Yes.
Because what I noticed, like, you're gonna have people interacting each other, so it's a group experience, it's not a single person experience or one direction.
Yep.
And what the outcome that you would like and you encourage the people to have from this experience? Like, its approach to permaculture, its approach to permaculture style, like what you want to give them at the end of this experience?
I think being a teacher, I want to give people a bit of information for them to find what their passion is and what their needs are, and then lots of resources. So where to look, just to know what's out there and where to go. And I was going to say too many books. There's no such thing as too many permaculture books. But during the week of the course, I'd take them all over next door and set them up in sections with headings, and people can look about, you know, building or, you know, gardening or social permaculture. You know, there are people whose lives are permaculture based and they don't grow anything. You know, you don't have to. It's just an aspect. And there are there are 7 domains in permaculture, and they do, you know, it's about education and culture or tools or finance. There are 3 ethics of permaculture, which are earth care, people care, fair share. And there are different wordings for that, but that's basically what they're about, so people can zero in on those. And there are 12 principles, and I show people those on a Saturday morning and say, look, you're not expected to memorise them. I don't want people to look at them and think, oh, it's all of these frameworks on top of each other. It's overwhelming, or I don't know what to do with it. But it's just so people are aware, so they know these things are around, and then we put them away and we talk about physical, you know, tangible aspects of them. This is what creating no waste looks like. This is what creating a yield looks like and growing, and this, you know, so people then go, oh, okay, it's not just a framework and lots of numbers or, you know, dot points with different principles. They're here in practice. So people can see that it's not a how-to, but it's a how to apply concepts.
So I think it's worth as experience. And if someone will be interested to come along, where they can find like your connections? Do you have a website, or do you have a phone number? What do you use generally to get in contact?
The main form of communication we have is the Facebook page, Down to Earth Permaculture. There is another Down to Earth Permaculture in the world, in Denmark. We're not that one, and
yeah, it's not gonna be in Denmark. But that's probably understood. No. We are in South Australia. We are Yorke Peninsula. Yay!
Yeah. So if you have a look and your photos seem a little bit more cold climate, then you know that's not the right one. We do have a website, downtoearthpermaculture.com.au. I tend not to put a lot on that because the Facebook is, where I throw photos and things to do, and it's just what I use the most. But the website has photos of courses, a bit of course content, so the website is a place to go to see if you're interested, and it has contact details, phone number, email.
Okay.
The Facebook page is generally 2 or 3 posts a week of this is how to clip a chicken's wing, or this is what's growing this week, or how to preserve kumquats.
And for what you told me, you also have accommodation here. If somebody will be interested to come along in this specific area, so they can book, they can find you on Airbnb, is that right?
Yes, Airbnb. The house name is Coastal Comfort in Stansbury. So it's a room within a house. We don't have a separate dwelling, and we do, I was going to say warn, I don't know if that's the right word, but we do stress to people that it's a bedroom in our house. So there's shared living, shared kitchen, and we sleep upstairs and have an ensuite. So, downstairs there is a bathroom and toilet for people for their own privacy.
So at this point we're at the end of the interview. We actually 5 minutes longer, but we'll figure it out where we can extend it a bit more, because there are interesting topics over here. Where would you like to take in simple? Where would you like to take this? What do you want to do with it? What's the vision of it?
Oh, my vision. I'm in the middle of a diploma of sustainable living, and doing that online, and I have some ideas from that. I would really like to produce a series of podcasts about permaculture, not necessarily permaculture practitioners, but people in South Australia who live a permaculture, sustainability, regenerative style life. So that's something that I would expect to be harder than I think. I think I'll just whip that up and record people, and as you would know, it's not as easy as you think.
No.
I would also like to continue to teach courses for children and teenagers. That's something that sometimes people bring their kids along, but it's not aimed at them for a course.
Definitely.
And being in a lovely position, being a teacher librarian in a public library, it's a school community library. I'd like to do more short courses, or something the library can offer the community, and spread our tentacles a little bit further.
Yeah, keep communicating that love, and then having the opportunity to other people share it, because that is, I think, is the best thing in all this opportunity. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone who have been following us on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook page, for this 21 minutes interview with Wendy. And we will see you again on the channel the next time. Please go to have a look to her Facebook page, as she said. And if you're interested to come along in the Yorke Peninsula, this is a beautiful spot. So see you next time here on the channel. Thank you very much, Wendy, for being with us, or
Thank
for
you very
being
much. Thank you.
with you, because that's your house. And see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.